Hello and welcome to the Redefining Work newsletter. Do you hear that? Do you hear it? That is the sound of quiet hiring, which is the latest bullshit buzzword that we are getting fed about common HR practices that have existed for quite some time. Quiet hiring definitions vary, just like they did with quiet quitting, another BS term. However, I think that it's been interesting. I think that the field of HR and people operations specifically is pretty tired of all of these, branding and buzzwords being placed on our common practices. So hopefully, quiet hiring doesn't gain momentum quite like quiet quitting did. But I'm calling loud bullshit on both of them, and let us just focus on doing our work without necessarily having to come up with a cute catchphrase for what we're doing that we've been doing for some time. In the digest today, there are a range of articles. We are now in the second week of 2023. And if you haven't had enough predictions for the field of HR, Business Insider has you covered with a range of smart people and me who that had the opportunity to talk about some of the challenges HR will face in the new year. So you definitely want to check that piece out. Shopify made the news last week with their announcement of an update to their meeting structure. They basically called, canceled all of the meeting debt. All of recurring meetings of two people or more were wiped from the schedule. They also included some guidelines around how meetings should happen, encourage employees to disengage and pull out of group chats where they were not additive. There was some additional counterpoint in an article here from Inc. With some pushback on that notion, but I actually liked it. I think, the way, especially for companies that are hybrid or remote by default, like Shopify, it's important that we really learn how to embrace better meeting hygiene and async practices. And I think the structure that Toby is putting in place there will allow them to have better async practices. So again, something to read, definitely food for thought for those of you that are in those environments, unlike Disney, who announced this week that they are mandating employees be back in the office 4 days a week. Expect this to continue throughout the year. Some companies are going to push to get people back in office. Some companies are going to maintain their hybrid or remote structures, whatever your preferences are. You will have options. So again, there is no right or wrong to this. You have to do what's best for the company. I think that this is just going to continue to play out over the course of this year and next year, and companies just need to figure out what works best for them, and then employees can opt in or out based on what works best for them. Layoffs continued into the first 2 weeks of January. I'm expecting that we're seeing a lot of layoffs, maybe that were likely, decided upon at the end of last year. They didn't want to do it during the holiday season, so they're doing it in January. The list includes Salesforce, Coinbase, Amazon, Goldman Sachs, McDonald's, Vimeo, and Stitch Fix, just to name a few. And there's an article that breaks some of those down. But, hopefully that is kind of that wave of layoffs that would have, could have happened at the end of last year. They wanted to push back to the end of after the holidays and the new year. So we'll see. I think obviously we still have economic uncertainty and headwinds, and companies are trying to brace for what may pan out positively or negatively. We still don't really know. And I think companies are trying to err on the side of caution in that. The last thing I wanted to share as well, actually a couple other quick things. One, the New York Times has a really interesting happiness challenge to start the year. It's a multi-part series, and I'm including part one in this article. But, I think for me personally, as I mentioned in the newsletter last week, Freudenfreud is a word that I'm embracing for this year, and really actively seeking out joy. And I know that's not always easy. I don't mean to be trite in saying that. I know a lot of people are struggling right now, and this is definitely difficult times. And obviously we've been going through all of the things for what feels like all of the years in recent memory. But I do think that, finding the ability, maybe we have to work harder to find it, but finding the ability to find joy wherever it may be is still important for our well-being and our ability to kind of, forge resilience and persevere from these difficult times that I know a lot of us are still facing. So if you want to participate in that challenge, you can check it out. And lastly, I'm excited that the Redefining Work podcast returns on Monday. Redefining Work is the next generation of redefining HR. And so I sit down on Monday's episode. Actually, it's going to be running on Tuesday because of MLK Day with Marcus Buckingham. And we talk a little bit about the year ahead, changes for the field, changes to the world of work. And I just love having these conversations with Marcus as our second podcast together. We'll certainly do more. And I just appreciate how he views the world of work and really brings that deep expertise to it. Last thing before we wrap up, the Amplify Academy Golf cohort, the deadline for that is going to be 1 week from this Friday. So if you want to join us and have a chance to learn directly from CPOs from Reddit, the Lego Group, Spotify, and Weight Watchers, and many others, definitely book your seat by next Friday, the 20th. Next week also, we'll have more details on the first scholarship program that our Diversity Council has led. So really excited about the applications. We're reviewing those now. We'll get into selections and announcement next week, so I'll have more details on it then. That's a wrap for this week. I'm going to have a quick poll at the end of this newsletter actually asking you if you prefer to watch these videos or just read the articles, because I just want to gauge how those are landing with all of you. And if you're somebody who just reads the link, you won't see this, and that's okay. I'm also going to be tweaking my LinkedIn newsletter to be a recap of some of the top HR people in world of work posts and conversations on LinkedIn specifically. That goes out each Friday. So if that would be interesting to you, follow me on LinkedIn if you're not, and you can check out my newsletter there. It's the Amplify Academy. And now that's really a wrap for this week. So take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I will see you next week.